Every now and again, I'm reminded just how few people in the world are truly ready to have the kinds of conversations that we have and go to the places that we live at. And as godly people and as people that are on the narrow path. And it's just so funny because these people are the same kinds of people that will be watching your every single move. They'll be watching your life. You might be having gang stalkers of some kind with these kinds of people. And yet, if you confront them about it, they're going to act like they're not. And they're going to try to devalue you. They're going to try to make it seem like you're the one with whatever's got going on, whatever kind of problem is going on. Even though you're not doing anything to them, you're just living your life. And they're going to try to watch you, and these are the same kinds of people that will try to like count how much money you're spending, where you're spending it, how much money do you make. It's also with relationships, with women. Sometimes they'll only want to interact with you when they see that you are interacting with somebody else. And then if you go back to that other person and you say, "Oh, I didn't know you were actually interested." Okay, well, you were my first choice. And then they're like, "Oh, well, okay, no, never mind." Like, these are the kinds of situations that people go through a lot as godly people. Godly people go through these kinds of situations a lot, and it only takes maturation and experience to get to certain levels, and where you can see, like, okay, maybe I'm not asking myself or God the right questions anymore. Maybe what I'm doing is I'm asking the wrong questions and I'm doing the wrong things, because this is what it takes to really level up in life. You have to have humility. You have to have the ability to be humble and to accept that maybe you're doing things a bit wrong. Maybe you're not doing things, maybe it's not even wrong. Maybe it just is that you could be doing things better than you are. And this is what these kinds of people that are going to be watching your life don't want to admit. And the reason that they're hiding stuff, this is the big thing. Like the reason why they pretend not to care, or they pretend not to really show how much interest they actually have in your life, is because they're hiding something of some sorts. And they don't want to reveal that, because if they did, they would lose their quote unquote leverage in the situation. And they don't want to lose that leverage. Instead, they just want to make sure that you look like the silly goose instead of them. But when they do that, guess what happens? Usually it's them that ends up looking like the silly goose, because you're always like, you're open to hear what they have to say. You're like, yeah, let's talk this, let's talk through this, let's talk this through. What's going on? Because if I have a problem with somebody, which I don't really have problems with people, but if I do, I'm going to talk to them face to face or personally to personally. Like, well, it's going to be personable, I would say. Like, personally, I would confront this person, or I would message this person. I'd be like, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is what's on my mind. Here's the situation that we have. How can we work through this?" And I'm not afraid to have those conversations. I don't necessarily like to have those conversations, but I'm not afraid of those conversations. And so if I'm somebody that is completely capable of just listening to these people, and yet they don't want, like, they want to pretend like they're not stalking your life, they're not watching you, or they're not interested. Like, women will do this as well. And of course, like, it goes vice versa for men with women. But as a man and somebody that's attracted to and interested in romantically with women and not men, this is my perspective on this, which I'm sure women can relate to this and understand this from the male perspective sometimes. But I'm open to hear about what's going on. I'm open to hear about what they have to say. But it's almost like these people are just not ready to have these kinds of conversations. It's almost like these people are just not prepared to have the real the real person walk in the room. And because I don't want to say, how do I say this, because it's not an ego thing. But it's also, you know that you're the main character in your own life, and the only reason that you know that you're the main character as a man in your own life is because you know that if you're not, people are going to stomp on you. There are three types of people. I've been studying Machiavelli's The Prince and his philosophy. And if anybody has not read The Prince by Machiavelli, it's a very brutal philosophy and reality of how power works and how dynamics and the social game works. You have to play the social game. You have to play the social game if you want to win in this life. Well, what's the social game? Well, there are players. According to Machiavelli, there are players. There are pieces of the puzzle or pieces of the board, like a chessboard. And then there are the quote unquote like lost rebels. And so depending on which one you fall into is going to determine how you live your life. Now, me personally, I want to be a player. I don't want to be, because I've been the lost rebel and I've been a piece in the puzzle or the piece of the game. I don't like being either of those. I really don't. Because when I was a lost rebel, you know what happened to me? It's like, because I knew what was going on with these people, right? I knew that there were people at my jobs or whatever. The game was just rigged. I knew that this was the Matrix, so to speak, but I didn't know how to explain it. And when I tried to expose it for what it was not really worth for what it was at all, I would always get crushed. But as soon as and squashed, I would also get squashed. But as soon as I understood how to properly reprimand the game through using the concept of the game, because you're not necessarily using people or manipulating people, but you want to understand the concept of the game itself and how to use it to your advantage. As soon as I was able to reprimand the game and the system itself, that was when I was able to become a player. And so now I'm a player of the game. And these people don't want you to be players of the game. These people are oftentimes either a mix of other pieces of the puzzle, or more often than not, they are other useful pieces for other people that are just being manipulation tools. I don't really have a lot of lost rebels, so to speak. Again, using the vocabulary and terminology for Machiavelli's philosophy here, I don't see a lot of lost rebels trying to use anybody. They just don't know how to properly associate themselves in the world. And I know what that's like because, again, I used to be that kind of person. But the thing is that you want to make sure that when you're playing the social game, you want to make sure that, number one, you follow the laws of power that Robert Greene. Where did I put that book? Oh, I have it over there. But the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is a fascinating book to undertake when you're trying to learn about this stuff. And it's not, again, to be used for your manipulation or for evil or anything like that, even though it can be used for evil or manipulation. The goal is to ensure that you're setting up the game to ensure that you're in the best position possible on the board. And you want to make sure that you are orienting your life and your strategies of life, because this is what most people that are pretending to watch you, but then, or that are watching you but pretend not to, don't understand. They don't understand the game. Okay? So these people are going to be the ones that are usually the useful manipulation pieces of other evil players. And they don't even know oftentimes. Like, these are, anybody that's familiar with studying narcissism, these are the same kinds of people that are basically the flying monkeys for the narcissist. Okay, they just do what the narcissist says because that's what the narcissist does. And these people that pretend not to watch you but really are, might try to placate you as the narcissist in the situation, when in reality, you're open. You made it very clear, like, I'm open to any kind of discourse you want to have. Let's talk through it. Because if I have a problem with somebody, I'm going to go to them. And if somebody has a problem with me, I expect the same kind of thing. And if they're not going to, then I'll negotiate or not necessarily confront them, but address it. I will address it head on because I'm not afraid of adversity. I don't like it. Again, this is where I make the distinction. I don't necessarily like being in that state of mode of being, but I'm not necessarily afraid of it though. The only thing that I'm truly afraid of is God. And I'm afraid of not doing what God wants me to do. So when God tells me to do something, I do it, even if I don't want to be doing it necessarily. And every single time, especially recently, there was a situation where I resisted what God wanted me to do. I resisted what God wanted me to do, and guess what happened? I'm not saying that God made me sick or anything like that, but I'm saying that even in my resistance to God's will, I was sick for a minute, and obviously now I'm feeling a lot better, but I genuinely believe that part of the reason that I was sick was because I was hesitant to follow through with what God wanted me to do. And it's almost like the more you level up, the more severe punishment God is going to give unto you if you don't necessarily follow through with what you know you ought to be doing anyway, even if you don't necessarily want to be doing it. And number two is that the more you level up in life, it's kind of like you go up the mountain, right? You're going up the mountain, and you are climbing up the mountain of, let's just call it the mountain of success to make things pretty simple and easy. Success really can be defined as however you want to define it, but the criteria for success is entirely up to you. And so the more you level up though on this mountain, the steeper it gets, right? Well, the less people are going to actually be there at the top when you get to the top. And when you're at the top, you're at the top. And so on your climb to this mountain of success, the steeper the criteria is, the more you level up, right? Well, there's a reason why it's crowded at the bottom and lonely at the top. Because at the bottom, there's not a lot of standards. There's not a lot of things to go around, and that's fine. You know, I don't really want to be there, but you know, to get to the top, man, it's a lonely thing, and you'll experience a lot of people pretending like they're not trying to grab you down and tug you down and, you know, throw rocks at you as you're climbing up. These people are trying to hide their jealousy. They're trying to hide their envy, you know, and it is what it is. And some women, for example, in my life, that I've been cool with them. Like I'm cool with them, but I never tried to go follow through with anything, even though I knew that they wanted me to. If I knew that to do the right thing in that situation, because the woman was like holding on to this possibility of me go asking her out, or we're going out, and it's like let's keep it professional. And so I just gently, you know, next them. I'm not trying to be rude about it. I'm not trying to do anything, but it can come across as that way sometimes. And women have not liked that sometimes. Like women really cannot handle that. Like they don't know what to do about that because they take it very personally. And you know, women are very used to rejecting men. You'll see even the 5s and the 4s rejecting men that are twice as better as them. And it's all an ego thing. But as soon as they're the ones that get rejected, things usually fall off in a negative way. And they start to really hate you. They start to resent you. And it is what it is, but you've got to be as kind about it and as polite about it as possible. There's no need to be, I mean, you don't have to, but you know, you could be this total jerk, but I don't recommend taking that route when it comes to that kind of thing, because you don't want to be, you just want to let them down gently, because women, if they are any kind of vengeful, they will, I've heard of stories of people getting their tires slashed. I've heard stories of people that they go to other dates and the woman shows up. It's just kind of crazy stuff that I've heard. So just be mindful of that, and you want to make sure that you don't necessarily screw up anything that you don't necessarily need to screw up, because if it's a professional relationship, that's fine. But also, you have to understand that women also respect men that can make them sad. And I'm not trying to say like you should be that kind of person to make women sad, but I'm saying that you should have the capacity to do so. Because women want that full range of emotion with a man. They want a man that knows he's able to walk away. But this goes back to why these same kinds of women, and again, I'm sure women have experienced this with men. I'm just speaking about from my experience as a man here with women, because I'm not a woman that has experience with men romantically, but I know that it's happened with the other women that I've talked about in consultations and such, etc. But it's almost like these kinds of women, they still have an affinity for you, but they don't want to admit it to themselves, because if they do, then that means that they actually cared. And they don't want to lose out on a man that they actually genuinely care for. But the thing is that these same women will also pretend like they don't like you. And when a woman pretends like she doesn't like you, even though you know that she does, she's just trying to save herself from the pain. That's all that it is. And you don't need to take it personally. You don't need to take it that way. You just need to know that she's going through certain things, and so she's going to lash out. If you reject her, she's going to lash out and, try to make you hurt, because that's just how women are. Like, most of the time anyway. There's only been maybe one time that I've rejected a woman and she's taken it okay. But most of the time now, if I reject a woman or softly like next her, she's not particularly happy about it, and she'll pretend like she is never liked me, and obviously that's never the case. But that's just how it is sometimes, and you've got to make sure that you don't really. I'm not saying like you should burn bridges, but I'm also not saying that you shouldn't burn bridges. Because sometimes those bridges need to be burned. Sometimes those bridges need to be just burned away. Just let it burn, baby. Burn, baby, burn. But other times, preserving the bridge isn't necessarily a bad idea, because you might have to be with that person in the long run somehow, some way. So be careful, be mindful, but also don't necessarily be uptight about it, because certain things can happen. What's the saying? There's no wrath like a woman scorned? Is that the term? Is that the saying, phrase, whatever? Yeah, I think that's what it is. So just be mindful of that. You don't want to get your tires slashed. I've literally heard a story about that. So that was crazy. Like, some of the things that women will do just because, and even if they don't like you that much in the beginning, and you just like, I don't see this going anywhere, they'll take it very personally. But yeah, these kinds of people in the world that pretend to not watch you, but are really watching you, usually these people are trying to either live vicariously through you, or they're jealous of you, or they're envious. And I'm not saying this to boost your ego or your vanity or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's just what it is. Even if you're not necessarily where you want to be in life, if you just have the perception of being ahead in life, that's going to be enough for people to really despise you and hate you. So be mindful of that. I do hope this video was useful and insightful for you. If you do want to join the Regal Change Academy, where we have a godly community and a bunch of resources to help you on your journey and your walk with God, and really just give you practical resources as well for your businesses or for your career or just life in general, join the Regal Change Academy. We do have the free Discord channel as well as the paid community. In the free Discord, I have an ebook that I just put out there. We have meditation guides, fitness guides, etc. And then in the paid community, we are doing a Stoicism class series coming up. It'll be the Legends of Stoicism, where we read 3 different philosophers from ancient Greek times and talk about their Stoic philosophies and how they got to this point, etc. There will be weekly tasks associated with the readings that we have. We also have a weekly Bible study call, as well as a weekly Regal assembly call, where we talk about a variety of different topics and subjects. It's more like a general congregation call for that. And now we're adding a Maps of the Psyche class that will also be weekly and included in the membership as well. So that's going to be really exciting. We're going to be talking about all different kinds of psychology and philosophy, etc. in there, and just maps of how your mind works. And, spiritually as well, and as well as a metaphor, as well as a literal map for you as well. We also have other classes that you can take on your own time in the paid community, such as the Godlike Savage course, Entrepreneurial Minds, AI optimization, 7 Deadly Sins now, meditation workshop. Did I say that? We've got something for everything and everyone in there. We've got like 12 different classes available there. So if you want to check out more of that, go to the link in the description box below. I do appreciate everybody moving from the YouTube platform over to X, Rumble, and Instagram recently. I appreciate your guys' extra support. I appreciate all the subscribers and the channel members. Shout out to all of you guys, and peace be with you all. Till next time.